So hello students, welcome back to the daily newspaper analysis of 21st April, and I am back with three new important articles related to prelims as well as mains. So these are the three important articles. See, in today's The Hindu newspaper, not many articles were there. In fact, not a single article I got, especially which we can discuss for prelims. So I took these three articles from the Indian Express. So here we shall be discussing what is the main issue and some of the prelims related points. So here the first article is related to 3D glass semiconductor project. Okay, so this first topic about 3D glass semiconductor project. So here we shall be discussing where this project has been established and what is the purpose of this type of semiconductor chips, etc., etc. The second important article is related to earthquakes and tsunamis. So recently, Japan has witnessed earthquake of magnitude of more than 7, and which can be a major cause for tsunamis. So tsunami alert has also been released. So here we shall be discussing these things. And third article is related to the fertilizer challenge. So here, fertilizer challenge we will be discussing in the context of the West Asia conflict. This in today's Yes. So let's start our discussion for today. So this article is related to 3D glass semiconductor project. Yes. So this is the project of 3D glass semiconductor project. So where this project has been established recently, this project has been established in Odisha. So this thing you have to remember where this project was established. It was established in Odisha, and under which mission it was established? So it was established under India's semiconductor mission. So if we discuss briefly about India's semiconductor mission, so this mission was brought in 2021, and what was the major purpose of this mission? Its major purpose was to make India the semiconductor hub, because for the boost of IT industry, we need boost in the semiconductor manufacturing as well as assembly. So this was the main thing. Now, if we talk about this 3D if we talk about this 3D glass semiconductor project, this project which is established in Odisha, so basically it focuses on two things. What two things it focuses on? First of all, it focuses on the use of glass substrates. This is the main important thing. It focuses on the use of glass substrates. it focuses on two things. So first is about the glass substrates, and second important thing on which it focuses on is the 3D heterogeneous integration. 3D heterogeneous integration. So this I am just giving the gist. We will discuss what is 3D glass substrates, what is 3D heterogeneous integration, etc. Just I am discussing the gist that India launched India Semiconductor Mission in 2021. Its main focus was to boost the ecosystem of semiconductors manufacturing in India. And one of the initiative under Semiconductor Mission was recently 3D glass manufacturing unit was established in Orissa. What was the objective of this plant? Main objective was to focus on the manufacturing of glass substrates as well as to focus on 3D heterogeneous integration. Now quickly, see, so the article says unlike traditional semiconductor manufacturing, which uses two flat dimensional chips, the project focuses on 3D chip packaging. So here what is important for us? We must know what is 3D chip manufacturing, what are the advantages of 3D chip over the 2D chip. Second thing which article says, it uses glass substrates. Glass substrates are used as the what we can say are used as the substitute of silicon. So that's why this thing is also important. We will discuss about glass substrates. And third thing which article says is this technology is closely linked to limitations of Moore's law. So we shall be discussing about Moore's law also. So quickly, let's discuss about the 3D chips. So see, as you know, the traditional laminar, these are the 2D chips. Right, these are the 2D chips. Now what will happen in 3D chips? We will stack 2D chips one over the other, and in this way we will get something what we call as 3D chips. Now what will be the advantages of stacking 2D chips one over the other? Advantages will be that, see, here our main idea, here our main requirement is that in limited space you want, just a second, our main idea is to, we have to use the limited space for more efficiency. So if we are stacking 2D chips one over the other and we are getting 3D structure, so it will be very helpful because in limited space you can do a variety of functions, because here your size will reduce as well as your efficiency will increase. So this is the main concept of 3D chips, and hence the computation power will also increase. So what are we doing in 3D chips? We are just stacking 2D laminar chips one over the another. What will be the benefit of that? In limited space, you will be able to do a variety of functions. Size will reduce as well as the computation power will increase. Now, let's quickly discuss about the glass substrate, because this plant is focusing on the glass substrate. So glass substrates are basically seen as the alternative of silicon. So they are seen as the alternative of silicon, because as you know, semiconductors are the backbone of IT industry and silicon is the backbone of semiconductors. So that's why if we are able to find the substitute of silicon, then it is very good. So glass substrates are seen as the substitute of silicon. And why they are seen as substitute? Because they are more thermally stable than silicon. More thermally stable than silicon. So first important advantage is that. Second is, in silicons, sometimes we see the loss of signals. So these loss of signals will not happen in glass substrate. Third important thing, that precision is very high when we are using the glass substrates. So this is the overall concept, that what is glass substrate? They are seen as the alternative of silicon. Why they are seen? Because they are thermally stable than silicon. The loss of signals, which was the issue in silicon, we are not seeing here, and the precision is also very high here. So this is the main concept of glass substrate. Now let's discuss about the heterogeneous integration. Heterogeneous integration. See, from the name only you will understand what is the meaning of heterogeneous. Heterogeneous means different components. Homogeneous means something uniform or something similar. So in heterogeneous, what we will do, we will combine different small chips which have different kind of specialized functions. So here what we will do, these are 3-4 different chips which are responsible for different kind of functions. For example, this chip is responsible for processing, this chip is responsible for graphics, this chip is responsible for memory. So what we are doing, we are combining these small chips together, so that when we will see this single unit can do variety of specialized functions. Why it is advantageous? Because earlier, if we want very high precision or very high efficiency, what we did, we used to take a very big plate, and in this big plate only we were assembling many things. But now what is our requirement? That in very small space we need high quality functions. So because of that, what we will do, instead of using a very big plate, we will use small chips and we will integrate together. The function will be same. The thing which this big plate was doing, same thing can be done in the limited space, but with high precision. So this is the concept of this heterogeneous integration. If I take the example, so you can easily take example of the mobile phones, because in smartphones a chip can be used for CPU, a chip can be used for GPU, a chip can be used for memory, etc. So here we stack all these chips together and hence we get a specialized kind of chip. Now, the article also discusses about the Moore's law. So you must also have an idea. UPSC can simply ask in prelims that what is the concept of Moore's law. So Moore's law says that in every 2 years, what will happen? In every 2 years, the size of transistors will become so small because of the advanced technology, that at present, if you are using 10 transistors, 10 transistors in a particular chip, after 2 years, you can use on the same chip 20 transistors, because over a period of time, the size of transistors will gradually reduce. So this was the concept of Moore's law. But what is happening now, because we are lacking some of the technologies, we are not able to make that, we are not able to shrink the size of transistors with that speed. So now these things can be done when we are using 3D chips. So here the disadvantage what we were having, we were not able to follow the Moore's law. Now with the use of 3D chips, we can do that thing. Now let's quickly discuss some of the applications. Okay, so if we discuss some of the applications, so semiconductors have variety of applications, right? But anywhere, if we are using electronic components, semiconductors can be used anywhere. So applications, we can talk about mobiles, we can talk about various sensors. So sensors can be used anywhere, sensors in our cars, sensors in our medical equipment, sensors in missiles, rockets, etc. So all these are some of the applications. Now if we talk about impact, that what will be the impact of establishment of this 3D chip plant. So impact, first of the important impact will be the job creation, obviously. So it is estimated around 2500 jobs will be created. And earlier India was majorly known for the assembly of components, it was not known for manufacturing. So now if we are setting up a 3D chip manufacturing plant, then it will present a good image of India at the global platform. So I think here we discussed each and everything which was important for the exam. We discussed about 3D chips, what are 3D chips. We discussed about the glass substrates. And after that, we discussed about Moore's law. We discussed some of the advantages also. Now, here is the second article. So this article is related to a powerful earthquake of magnitude of around 7.5 in Japan, and because of that tsunami alert is also issued. So here let's discuss some of the important things which are given in article. So a powerful earthquake struck at the north coast of Japan, and because of that tsunami can be triggered, so alerts were issued. Second thing here is that event highlights the Japan's vulnerability. Why Japan is vulnerable? Because Japan is located in a particular area which we call as Pacific Rings of Fire. So for exam perspective, Pacific Rings of Fire is very, very important. And next thing it says that this earthquake occurred at the depth of 10 to 20 kilometer, which we call as shallow earthquake. So you must have an idea that what are shallow earthquakes and what are deep earthquakes. And next thing is epicenter is located in the Pacific Ocean near the Japan Trench. So here what all things are important? We must have a basic idea about earthquakes, about shallow earthquakes, about deep focus earthquakes, about how tsunami can be generated by earthquakes, about the location of Pacific Rings of Fire, about the plate tectonics theory, simple plate tectonics theory, because here we are talking about Japan Trench. So all these things are important for exam. Now, quickly, first of all, as we have already discussed here, that Japan is vulnerable because it is located in the Pacific Rings of Fire. So first of all, let's go through the location of Pacific Rings of Fire. This is the location. The Pacific Rings of Fire is the region, is an area in the Pacific Ocean where uh, many active as well as dormant volcanoes are located, and here this region is also active tectonically. That means large convergence of plates is taking place. So first thing, why this area is very active? Because of the plate tectonics. Because of plate tectonics, this area is vulnerable. Second, why it is vulnerable? Because it is home for various active as well as dormant volcanoes. This is the main concept. Now, quickly, let's discuss briefly about earthquake. So first of all, tell me, what are earthquakes? So basically, earthquakes are the sudden shaking or tremors on the earth. And why they are produced? They are produced by the sudden release of energy. Sudden release of energy, and this energy comes in the form of tremors. So whenever energy releases from inside the earth, we can see the tremors. Now you must have an idea about the deep focus earthquake as well as shallow focus earthquakes. So deep focus earthquakes are the ones where energy gets released from the crust area. Because as you know, there are three layers of earth: crust, mantle, and core. So crust is the uppermost layer. So whenever these waves, seismic waves, generate in the crust, so that type of earthquake we call as deep focus earthquake. Now, if we talk about the shallow focus earthquakes are generated in the crust. If we talk about the deep focus earthquakes, so mainly they are generated in the upper mantle. Deep focus earthquakes are generated in the upper mantle. So the news which we are talking about, so in this news, this earthquake was the shallow earthquake because it was at the waves generated from 10 to 20 kilometer of depth. Now, after this, you must have an idea about the epicenter as well as focus of the earthquakes. So, for example, this is land area, and this was somewhere this shallow earthquake was generated. So, the exact point from where earthquake was generated, that point we call as focus. And the point just above this focal point on the earthquake we call as epicenter. So here, can you see in the news, it was saying the epicenter was located in the Pacific Ocean near the Japan Trench. So here, this was the epicenter. Where this epicenter was located, it was located near the Japan Trench. Okay, so now Now quickly, let's discuss about some of the causes of earthquakes. Causes of earthquakes. The first cause is about the fault zone only. That means if inside the earthquake, if any fault is there, so the land area can move in this way. This is the one part and this is the second part. So fault zones can move in this way. This part can move here, this part can move here. So because of that, tremors can be generated from inside the earth. So this is the first cause. Second cause is the plate tectonics, and here in this news what we are talking about in the earth of the earthquake in Japan, plate tectonics were the major reason. So in plate tectonics, what all plates were responsible? So here Pacific plate, a second. Yes. So if we talk about the plate tectonics, so to here two plates were responsible. What were those two plates? First plate was Pacific plate, and second plate was Okhotsk plate. These two plates were responsible for the generation of earthquake in Japan near the Japan Trench. So these two plates were there. Now, as you know that if we are talking about the trench, then there the boundary will be convergent boundary. So what two plates are converging? Pacific plate is converging with the Okhotsk plate. So here let's see. This is the Pacific plate and this is the Okhotsk plate. So here these two plates are converging, and this is the region of Japan, and this is the Japan Trench. So in news we read no that epicenter is located near the Japan Trench, and why this earthquake was caused? It was caused by convergence of which two plates? Convergence of Pacific plate and Okhotsk plate. So here the location is very important for you to know. Now quickly let's discuss some of the impacts of earthquake. Effects of earthquake. So obviously the primary effect will be the destruction of life and property, destruction of infrastructure, casualties, etc. If we talk about the secondary hazards, so these are the direct impact. What will be the hazards? Hazards like the tsunami. So tsunami is the impact of earthquake. Tsunami is not the cause of earthquake. Please remember that tsunamis are the impact of earthquake, and they are not the cause of earthquake. Please remember this, it can help you in prelims. So tsunamis are the impact of earthquake, but they are not the cause of earthquake. So let's quickly discuss about tsunamis. So basically, what are tsunamis? Tsunamis are the large waves. Yes. So what are tsunamis? Tsunamis are the large waves which can displace huge amount of water. And one of the causes of tsunamis is earthquakes. So tsunamis can be caused by other events also, for example, volcanoes. But here the main cause of tsunami would be earthquake. Tsunamis are the large waves which can displace huge amount of water. Now, if we talk about how these tsunamis travel, so for example, this is land surface. For example, this is seashore, this is land surface, and tsunamis are coming from here. So whenever there is whenever the waters are deep, the speed of tsunami will be very high, but their height will be very less. But when the tsunamis are reaching the shore, their speed will reduce, but their height will increase. That's why whenever tsunamis reach the shore, they cause large scale destruction. So here, what is the thing? Here the speed will be very high, but the height will be low. And whenever they reach the shore, here the speed will be less, but the height will be very high. That's why they are able to cause destruction. So these were the basic things which you must know for the tsunami. Now, let's talk about the third important article, which is related to the fertilizer challenge in India. So why this fertilizer challenge? Because of the West Asia crisis. So what the article says, the ongoing West Asia conflict has disrupted the global supply chains. So global supply chains of all things, for example, natural gas, for example, petrol. But here the main focus is on the fertilizers. And why it is the major thing? Because India is majorly dependent on the fertilizer, especially urea for the agriculture. So that's why it is a huge loss for India. It is a huge disruption for India. And then the article says India may manage the fertilizer supply for the Kharif season, that is in the June, July, August. But when it comes to the Rabi season, that is coming to in the October or November, then for that we don't have much buffer stock. So this was the entire thing. This was the major gist that why there is fertilizer crisis for India, because majorly if we talk about fertilizer, majorly about urea, so the raw material, what we call as natural gas, from which urea is made. So natural gas is mainly we are importing from the West Asian countries, and because of the conflict in West Asia, the supply is disrupted, and hence agriculture may also come under the stress. Now, quickly, I will discuss some of the important prelims oriented points related to fertilizers. So if we talk about India's dependency, so we know that India is one of the largest consumer of fertilizers, and mainly fertilizers we are talking about are urea, diammonium phosphate and potash. So basically what we call as NPK, that is nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So these are the main names. These are the urea, diammonium phosphate and potash. Now quickly I will discuss important prelims related points. So what we can do here, we can write here. Here, so basically we will discuss what are the important raw materials required for each of these material. We shall be discussing about the regulations, and we shall be discussing the important countries from where we are importing all these things. So here, first of all, I am writing urea, then I am writing diammonium phosphate, and then potash. Yes, I think is it visible? Yes. So here, yes. So here I am writing about potash. Now, first of all, let's discuss. First of all, we shall be discussing whether these type of fertilizers are produced in India or whether they are imported. So here I'm talking about whether they are produced or whether they are produced or they are imported. So if I talk about urea, so urea is produced also in India and urea is imported also from other countries. So we can say that around 60% of urea is produced in India, and around 35 to 40% urea is also we are importing from other countries. So this thing you must know. So here you cannot say that urea is completely domestically produced or it is completely imported. So around 60% we are producing and around 35 to 40% we are importing. Now next important thing here is that from which countries we are importing. If we are talking about urea, so from which countries we are importing? So the main raw material for urea is natural gas, and natural gas for urea especially we are importing from the West Asian countries. So that's why here the major crisis is for the urea, because at present we are having the West Asia crisis. So mainly those countries are from West Asia. Now, if I talk about raw material quickly for urea, so as I have already discussed, the raw material for urea will be the natural gas, because natural gas is responsible for the formation of ammonia, and in ammonia nitrogen, which is the main component of urea. So these are the main important things about urea. If I talk about the diammonium phosphate, which is DAP, so here if I talk about whether it is produced domestically or imported, so it is also produced and it is imported, but here the imported quantity is high. Around 60% of diammonium phosphate we are importing, and around 30% we are producing domestically. Now, if I talk about the countries from where we are importing, so if we talk about DAP, so main countries are some of the countries like Canada, like Russia. These are the important countries from where we are importing, no, sorry. If we talk about DAP, so apart from West Asia, we are importing from other countries also, for example, China. So for urea, we are mainly dependent on West Asia, but for DAP and potash, we can be dependent on other countries also. Now, if I talk about the raw material for diammonium phosphate, so it is a homework for you. As we discussed the raw material for urea, it is a homework for you. You have to know the raw materials which are required for the production of diammonium phosphate, because this type of question has already been asked in prelims. I will discuss the PYQ. So this is a homework for you. Tell me the raw material which are needed for the production of diammonium phosphate. Now, if I talk about the potash, so this is very important thing. Potash is 100% imported. We are not producing any potash in India. Very, very important. Potash is 100% imported. And if we talk about the countries from where we are importing potash, so some of the important countries are Canada as well as Russia. So these are the important countries. And raw material for the potash, obviously, it will be the potash ores. From potash ores, we are taking the raw material. Yes, for the potash, we are taking raw material from the potash ores. Now, next important thing for you to know is about the regulation, how urea, diammonium phosphate and potash are regulated in India. So if we talk about the regulation of urea, so urea is strictly government regulated in India. That is very important. Urea is strictly government regulated. That means, what is the meaning of government regulated? That the companies have to sell urea at MSP, and that MSP must not be more than the cost of production. So the production of urea is completely regulated by government. If I talk about the diammonium phosphate or potash, so they are not strictly government oriented. Their price are determined based on the market forces, but still government has some regulations, like government regulates it based on the nutrient based subsidy scheme. Nutrient based subsidy scheme. So here what will happen when we are selling these nutrients like DAP or potash, so subsidies will be given on per unit of this fertilizer. So here subsidy is given, but if we talk about urea, so it is strictly government regulated. So this was the question I was talking about. With reference to chemical fertilizers in India, consider the following statements. At present, retail price of chemical fertilizers is market driven and not administered by the government. Ammonia, which is an input of urea, is produced from natural gas. Sulfur, which is the raw material for phosphoric acid fertilizer, is byproduct of oil refineries. So I think some of these things we discussed here. So from this question, you are able to know now that what all things you must read when you are reading the topic of fertilizers. Now, a practice question for you. So with reference to 3D semiconductor packaging, consider the following statements. First is, it involves stacking multiple layers of integrated circuits vertically to improve performance. Second is, it helps in reducing power consumption and increasing processing speed. And third is, it eliminates the need for interconnections between the different layers of chips. So this is a practice question for you. Read it once again, go through the topic once again, and try to give the answer in the comment section. Now, some of the other questions for you based on the topics which we discussed. So this I have already told. You have to tell me, answer in the comment section, that which raw materials are required for diammonium phosphate. For urea and potash we already discussed, so please read about this. Second is, you have to tell me the instruments used to measure the magnitude and intensity of earthquake. So whether there are two separate instruments, or from single instrument we can measure magnitude as well as the what we say intensity. And third is, you have to tell me three important materials which are used in the semiconductors except silicon, because we know about silicon, it is the backbone of semiconductors. But apart from silicon, you have to tell me three other important raw materials. Okay, so these were the important articles for today. So you have to give me answers for four things. First of all, the practice question and three separate questions which I have asked. So yes, that's all from my side.